Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Makota Man at YouTube with another review. Today we'll be reviewing a custom kit bashed model that I've produced. I've combined the Neo Zeong SD kit and the ZAS from the HGUC line as a skeleton and detailed and scratch built and 3D printed around to make my rendition and a unique take on the Xamel from 0083. This is an largish, almost mobile armor sized suit that is used for long range attack or an artillery piece. Mine has a much larger cannon, probably for a more mid-range setting, and is reminiscent of the Second and Third World War, deployed in a trench. So first I purchased the two kits, the Neo Zeong first. They were built, snapped, cleaned up, but not glued or seam lined. Otherwise that treated as normal for an out-of-the-box snap kit. Same with the ZAS. These are fairly big kits, fairly expensive, a lot to it. So they were a bit time consuming. Once the two were done, it took a while to strip down the kits to certain components to see if their polycaps or interlocking joints could connect or fit or proportionally work in any way with each other. I found this not to be the case. They were two completely different lines, nothing were compatible whatsoever. This was not a problem at all. The codpiece or interlocking bits to connect the torso of the ZAS to the legs was cut off, enlarged with styrene plate and offset from the underneath of the Neo Zeong. The upper body was mounted on a tower of plates, neatly sanded together to look like a solid component and magnetized on. The inner detail would eventually be filled with 3D printed parts, just basic shapes. Half of the torso was cut in half to allow for a cannon, and the arm and head was allowed. The head went into a significant amount of modifications to look different. Now, the first thing was noticed when sharing the work in progress, besides a lot of the pieces being extremely recognisable, a smaller amount of modification and finer tuning would have resolved and sorted that, but proportionally it was very large in the centre, medium around the top of the body, and the legs were skinny chicken legs, very 1 year war, big Zamish. So we needed to armour up and bulk up the lower end, and I thought of interlocking plate armour with probably some reflective or sloped armour on top of that. Being fond of metal work, I bought some half mil thick brass sheets, and using tin snips cut them into appropriate shapes, bent some of them, kept some of them straight, magnetised into smaller pieces, and had them decorated around the legs, resembling somewhat samurai armour and having larger, almost Panzer IV skirting in the back. Slowly thinking about its main armament, I wanted a large howitzer artillery piece sitting on its right or left hip, so I cutted up some platforms that would sit either side, overlapping the round contours of the Neo Zeong and giving larger platforms to put things on it. One side might be a housing, the other side would be the cannon. So I started hand drawing ideas, auto-CAD'd them, and printed them out of my 3D printer. Of course the plastic was quite rough, but they had multiple coats where they were exposed of automotive primer and sanded back. Slowly, with small modifications, the skirting all the way around, the top trimmed up a bit, the head correct, the proportion being somewhat of a Christmas tree. I was very happy with the general shape, and then slowly and surely finer and finer detailing started going into it. Most of the magnetic points were of the center of the torso, the plate arm of the cannon, which made me very, very happy, not too much. The surface of the kit would receive a Zimmerit coating, which involved applying green stuff putty on flat areas and using my hobby knife to create tiny indents to show a surface texture. This just added the model a little bit of definition and an interest in looking at it, resembling World War II German tanks. Once all the Zimmerit was applied, the last of the detail was created. All the major components were sourced, sorted, and were able to be laid out. Everything had a magnet. Smaller detail involved sourcing pieces off 72nd Armour or model kit tanks. The cannon was produced in about 20 fine pieces, fully AutoCAD and 100% designed by myself. Was laid out, cleaned up multiple times with putty glued together, cleaned up again with putty, and absolutely finished. And the model slowly was able to come together and showed me a finished result or a finished mobile suit. This outcome of a scratch build or a kit bash was quite pleasing and rewarding, yet it was a tedious, long process. 3D printing did make it faster. Painting was easy. There was a lot of very big, awkward pieces to handle, some pieces quite heavy with ample solid plastic, putty and metal bits, so they were a bit tricky to mount. And the colour scheme was fairly complex with shading on top of that. The largest piece sat on its own board. Everything else was skewered for camouflage coating or just various other painting. I sprayed everything with Tamiya primer and sanded it back and resprayed with primer again until any excess glue or mistakes was removed. Then there was a long session of masking, camouflage, multiple layers of colour and light shading, salt weathering, pin washes, hand painting different components, getting different treatments, hand airbrushing shading, hand airbrushing lighting, gradients, mud effects, rust effects, absolutely everything you could imagine. Multiple layers of matte top coat followed by a complete sludge wash, dry brushing edges, weathering pencils, weathering pigments, the whole lot, until we had multiple tones of shading and weathering to build as a dynamic and interesting look as possible. Even areas not too visible painted, and sometimes with clashing colours, just to stand out and give it a little extra interest. Now the camouflage I wasn't 100% happy with, so some filters were added on top, and it created an extremely interesting look with further darkening panels and shades added. I've had this really interesting light toned beast. The Zimmerit texture just created this interesting overall appearance, and just with its unique design and the amount of 3D printed bits all over the place, the actual source mobile suits and components used is not really familiar anymore. And especially looking at the 3D printed parts, you cannot even guess where they've come from, because they're just absolutely sourced from my imagination and self-manufactured. Overall, this was a project that was hard to keep track of. There was a lot of pieces. It was hard to keep the envision of it. I don't know, when I posted a lot of the work in progress pictures, people were able to follow, understand. It was criticised at first, but I think people grew bored and moved on, and I'm not aware of it even being finished. All in all, I'm extremely happy with the output. It did burn me out, but just at its finished stage, I couldn't be any more happy with it. It's completely unique, and I think it falls back on being something that belongs to my style of modelling. Unique use of putty and metalwork, incorporating 3D printing to the absolute fullest, using it for a year and a half. I'm just generally pleased with the input of work into it and being something new and fresh. All in all, this is the last component to the diorama. Thank you very much for watching and following this very lengthy build, and noticing a bit of a gap of new modelling content on this channel, because this beast contained a lot of time and attention, and there was constant updates regarding this project alone. I don't think I'm going to be doing something this ambitious and big for a little while. This did pretty much push me on the edge regarding the hobby, including other dramas that's going on out of here. I think I'm just going to focus on having a little more fun and just doing laid back, easier stuff. I don't think there's no need to push myself in size and complexity, but probably looking at other areas to stretch my imagination instead, while still having some fun. All in all, thank you for watching, and as always, until next time, stay tuned to more content. Catch you guys next time.